Welcome back, friends, to another episode of the New Jersey High School Strength Coach Podcast. I'm with National Coach of the Year, Paul the Equalizer Collodi, Hunterdon Central Regional High School. My great friend. We post these up not often enough, but if you want to catch back episodes, some of them are on Spotify, New Jersey High School Strength Coach Podcast, and then we have a playlist on YouTube. So I really recommend digging back to the older videos. We started recording these, I think, during COVID. So a lot of
Yep.
powerful information. Before we get started on today's topics, just an announcement. We have the New Jersey State NHSCA State Clinic. It's going to be on March 14th. Got it on my whiteboard. That's a Friday, so you got to put in for your professional day. And we also recommend you bring friends, you bring colleagues, anybody who has influence, not just direct work into the weight room. So, is it your health and PE supervisor? Is it your colleagues who might be running the weight room with you? Is it other sport coaches at your school? Is it your athletic director? That week is the state athletic directors conference, but health and PE supervisors can really learn a lot by coming to this clinic. And one thing Paul and I always talk about, we're going to talk about it today, is that New Jersey is just way behind the times. Really, the Northeast tends to be behind the times with what other states are doing in high school strength and conditioning, meaning other states, Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, of course, Georgia, of course, Texas, South Carolina. They've got full-time strength coaches every block of the day. It's not even an optional thing. If you're an athlete, you have a class allocated for your sport. Football, being the biggest sport, tends to have their own class, but then you might see volleyball with wrestling, basketball with swimmers. There's none of this optional stuff, and I really think if you are in a combat sport, contact sport, we should really take that word optional off the table. I know we did a podcast last time, Paul, of the football coach who got fired up in North Jersey. I don't even know if he used the word mandatory, but he said, here's the expectations of off-season strength training, and kids who are on the basketball team, their parents complained, and then he got fired. And there
Yeah,
goes another strength coach slash football coach.
that's the big word, expectations. Like, I don't understand how parents or anyone can really argue with that. That if you're a coach and you want to win, that's your number one goal. And yeah, you want to develop really good individuals and lifelong habits, but you're there because you're a competitor and you want to win. And the only way you're going to do that is have expectations for your players. And if people can't understand that, if you join a club sport, they're going to tell you right off the bat, these are the expectations. You show up every day, you come, you're paying money, there's no doubt about it. But because, like you say, if you pay, sometimes you pay attention. That's been in my mind so much lately that, these parents are paying for all this stuff. The expectations are put out. So they're like, okay, we're going to keep paying. But when
Yes.
they're coming to us or they're going to their high school coach and they say, hey, expectations for the off season are this, it seems like everybody says, you know what, we have our own thing, or we're going to do our own thing. And there's just a double standard when it comes to that. And I don't know,
Interesting.
that upsets me a little bit, but that's where we're living. And that's why we're here trying to do our job better and better every day.
And what's interesting about that, hey, we're doing our own thing, is what I've picked up on in New Jersey is there are coaches who have been running strength and conditioning during PE class. And in New Jersey, I feel like there's a lot of, even from the coaches, hey, I'm doing my own thing rather than let's get together, let's share best practices, let's make each other better because the tide raises all the ships. And for some reason we don't see that. But if you go down to the Carolinas, South Carolina has, of course, every state has a state for, or has an organization for their state, for NHSSCA, the National High School Strength Coaches Association. But they also have the South Carolina Strength Coaches
Yeah.
Association. They even have one in addition to it. And so down south, or in South Carolina, they're hiring strength coaches who don't have to have a teaching certification. And I think it could be maybe a kind of legal slash liability coverage type thing in New Jersey where they're only hiring PE certified PE teachers to run the weight room. And we've said many times before, health and physical education teachers don't really go through any kind of training in college for strength and conditioning. It's the exercise science students that go through internships and field work. And we do this like on the regular at the Underground Strength Gym. We get exercise science students who are interning for us from Georgian Court University. They have been amazing. It's a very small, under the radar college, but what we're trying to do is get them better. And I love the open-mindedness of the exercise science professors. What one of them said to me, he said, Zach, we could teach them the science and the biology behind it, but you guys are the best at the strength and conditioning. That's where we need you to teach them. And there's no ego there. They're saying, that's not our expertise. We're handing them off to you and trusting you to do a great job, which I believe we do. And that's where we need to be in New Jersey with sport coaches, encouraging and really endorsing and saying part of the program for tennis, volleyball, basketball, whatever the sport is, football, soccer, wrestling, is we will be in the weight room 2 days a week, 3 days a week. It's interesting through the years, Paul. I'm sure you've noticed it. The norm used to be 3 days a week. Now it's down to two.
Yeah. We have two, we have three. Our 2 days, say they're coming Tuesday, Thursday. I offer them that Friday, and a lot of
Yes.
times they won't come on Friday because they have multiple games on the weekend. So, so our volleyball, some of our girls right now are coming in on Tuesday and Thursday or Monday and Wednesday, and they'll just say straight up, Coach, we have, 6 games over the weekend playing volleyball. And as a coach, I'm not going to say, well, you got to come in on Friday. I understand that they need that time to,
Yep.
to prepare. I may give them something to do when they get there because riding in the car for 2.5 hours and then playing a volleyball game or whatever they're doing may not be the best thing. So give them a great extended warm up that they can do with some body weight training like you have on your body weight program. Single leg activity, single leg jumps, some sprinting, backwards run, things like that. Non-traditional stand around in a circle, just stretch, but get up and move and get their body ready.
The Friday is often the day off for these athletes because, like you said, at Mid South are probably one of our biggest proponents of strength and conditioning is girls soccer, and so a lot of them have those big weekend tournaments which crushes them. And so Friday is oftentimes their day off and or a travel day where parents have to get in the car, drive several hours, get in a hotel. So parents are, in these outside states, get, hotel all weekend. And really, at the high school level, the weight room in my experience, not my opinion, in my experience of coaching since 1995, is the secret weapon at the high school level. You get them stronger, you build power, you make them more confident in themselves because of their preparation. You build better communication skills, which, as you were saying earlier, it's a life skill. It gives them confidence. And what I've noticed from also working in the college sector is a lot of these companies, they love to hire athletes because athletes have learned leadership skills, leadership qualities, communication skills, organization skills. My daughter is a hostess at a local restaurant, and the owner always tells me, he's like, you know what? You could tell your daughter is a high level athlete. She comes in, she organizes, she delegates what this person, that person does. He's like, I love hiring athletes. He's like, they just know how to get the job done. And in the weight room, we teach those things. Like yesterday during our warm up, I said, okay, we got 3 exercises. My choice is sleds. Get together in a small group. You guys pick the other two and then do 2 more rounds. Then at the end of the workout, you and I saw somebody share this. I forget. Maybe you'll remember. We give them credit. I think we saw it on a video. But at the end of the workout, hey, who did you make better today? Who did you help today? Okay, who helped you? So now I tell kids, step one, put your mask on first. Be a great individual because if you're not doing your job great, you can't lead and help others. Nobody's going to listen to you if you're slacking off. And it's building that accountability. And to me, schools are consistently talking about life skills. Well, if those life skills are so important, if mental health is so important, I don't know why and how strength and conditioning is not a kind of like a core class in every high school in New Jersey.
Man, I just say, and just to give your daughter props, like during the Lift Strong, man, she was in control of the table. She was in control of people signing in,
Hmm.
making sure that they were getting what they needed. I say all the time, athletes, if they're doing their job in the weight room, their level of FIO is through the roof, the figure it out level, because
Yes.
there's a lot of kids who can't figure stuff out now because of their phone and they can Google and they don't have to think about anything. But in the weight room, you don't have that. You have to figure out. Last night, our finisher was I had plates all over the floor. I had four groups, and it was I yelled out, "All right, so the bar is on the ground already, so don't count that in. I'm going to yell out a weight. You have to put the plates on your line to make that weight." So I'd say, "Okay, 170, go," and they had to run back and forth with the plates until they had them stacked up with that amount of weight on there. And I told everybody, get your strongest guy because it's going to take a little bit of strength to get the plates back and forth, but get your strongest brain guy too.
Yeah.
What guys are yelling at each other, picking up the wrong plates. It was awesome, but
I'm gonna steal that one. That is great.
the level of FIO for student athletes who come in and put the time in and dedication, like you said, when you're working at a restaurant and people are coming in and they want their table now, to be able to talk to them the right way and just have people skills, but also be able to go in, talk to the restaurant owner if he's there and say, "Hey, we got a line out front." Talk to the waiter saying, "Hey, which tables are going to be available?" Like just starting to figure out all of that is something that I think athletes do a lot better. And that's why sometimes they're even better administrators.
Yep. Life is a lot of FIO, figuring it out, problem solving, building confidence. So I would like to say this as a dad, you're a dad, we both have kids. Your kids are in, and well, your daughter's in going through her PA school, but she was an athlete. Your son is in college athletics. Both of my kids are athletes. I want to say this to parents. Hopefully, parents are listening and watching is every time something is difficult in sport, if you swoop in and constantly save your kid, you're doing the opposite of actually how we were raised in the 80s, which was a lot of figuring it out. Your parents never, interfered with what the coach did. If the coach sat you out or didn't give you a lot of playing time, your dad and mom would often say, "What are you doing wrong? What do you need to do more of? How can you get better?"
Yeah.
Today, there's a lot of your coach is wrong, your coach is mean, I don't like your coach. And I just put together a newsletter, a War Eagle Strength and Conditioning newsletter, not just for our kids and parents, but our community. And every message was the same, even though all the coaches who contributed, like yourself, are different levels. So we got high school, college, and professional team strength coaches from NFL. And many of them said effort, consistency, be coachable. One of the comments from one of the coaches who's coached in the NFL and is at D1 now said, um, do not do not have an emotional response when your coach tells you what to do or how to do it. You need to learn to get it done without getting, upset over it. And one of the examples I've given is I've had a kid cry when I had to keep telling him squat lower, but he refused to say, "You know what? I'm going to the dumbbell. I could just add more weight to the bar." No, no, no. Squat lower. You're doing it wrong. Squat lower, refused to listen, and then had an emotional breakdown. And I think to myself, where does that lead them in life? Somebody gives you feedback, you cry, you quit, you give up. Every day in life is problem solving and overcoming obstacles. It's turning obstacles into opportunity and kind of like what you were saying, hey, we're going to struggle with these things, but we're going to turn them into a strength by facing the struggles. And so for the parents out there listening, the best thing you could do is encourage your kid to be involved in the school, to be a leader in the school, because as you said, they're listening to club coaches who often, there's club coaches that have contracts for kids not to compete at school. That is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. Hey, you play tennis here, you play soccer here, you play, whatever the sport, baseball here, sign a contract that you're not playing at your school. And the greatest memories and lessons these kids have is oftentimes those experiences with their school team. And I got to tell you, it's having an impact, Paul. Like for example, I've seen, Middletown South Wrestling, we just beat Howell. We beat Bound Brook. When my younger brother wrestled against a Bound Brook kid in the regions, it looked like a dual meet. Bound Brook, 75% of the region finals was from Bound Brook. Howell, top 10 team. Now what do we have? People always think there's something better. Hey, I'm going to go to this school. I'm going to leave that school. I'm not listening to this coach. I'm going to coast during practice, but I'll go hard at with my club coach. So just like the strength coaches need to come together at our state clinic, share, support, make each other better. Why? Because it makes our state better. It makes our kids better.
Yeah.
Parents need that same thing. And I know it's a bit of a rant, but as I like to say, I'm just stating the facts.
Zach, this is a generational problem because when you were in school at Edison, when I was in school in Manville, we bled our colors. You were red and gold, bled
Yep.
it. And if you would have stayed in town, you'd be helping out with the town and doing stuff. And that's what happened back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. These people loved their town. They stayed in their town. They came back and gave back and put that culture back into the program. They gave back. Now, like you said, everybody's kind of like they have no pride in that HC or whatever they're doing, and they just go off and do what they do, and there's nobody left in town to feed that culture that used to be there. And it's every year it's going away a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more to the at some point, if it's not a Paulsboro or a Peaburg who still continue to have that culture and drive that, or a Southern Regional, like we talk about all the time, those expectations. People tend at Southern Regional, people tend to stay there because they love it. They embrace the town and
Yep.
they just give back to it. Some towns and some schools are losing that generationally every year because kids don't care about their school anymore. You know?
South Plainfield Wrestling. I know
Oh
people are going to
man.
get upset when I say this, but South Plainfield was a top 10, top 20 national team.
Yep.
Jackson Memorial was a top 10 wrestling team in the country. I believe now Jackson Memorial School might be closing and combining into,
Wow.
like, it might turn into a middle school. Jackson Liberty becomes the high school. I know Jackson also has a PE teacher running the weight room. And so, how do you get better? For example, our job, we are servants. We are serving the kids of Hunter and Central, of Middletown South. I'm serving the community of Manasquan and surrounding areas at the Underground Strength Gym. Well, if we expect the kids to get better, shouldn't we have the same expectations for ourselves? Well, how do you do it? Do you just consume YouTube videos and Instagram training videos? No, you must attend clinics and seminars and learn from others. So if you are a high school phys ed teacher or any sport coach involved in the weight room, you want to come to the state clinic. And I'm actually going to do a screen share here, Paul. Let me see if I could open up. I'm going to open up the internet. We're going to do a screen share of the NHSCA state clinic. Let's see,
Well, while you're sharing
NHSSC.
that, I know we talked about this yesterday, and joining the NHSSC, I think, is beneficial for a lot of different levels of professional. And we talked about one of them being the college strength coaches. What better way to get to know your where your high school kids are coming from, what they know. I know some of the college coaches that we've talked to say, "Oh, it really doesn't matter. We'll get them right once they get here." Why not know their background? Why not know who's training them? I think the college coaches for on the recruiting side should get to know the high school coaches across the country, be a part of our organization, come to our clinics if they have time. I know they're busy, but come to our clinics if they have time and mingle and start to learn, who's coaching the kids up that come into their school. Um,
Yes.
you
That
talked
I
about the exercise science directors. I got to give a shout out to Adam and Mary Kate Fight at Springfield. They do an unbelievable job. But if you're the director of a college program, why not show up and see where your kids can go? Listen to the coaches who are speaking because we got some good ones. We got Joe DiPietro from Southern Regional. You send your student down there to be an intern at Southern, they're going to come out pretty darn good. You know what I mean?
I I love what you're saying. I've also said I am shocked. I'm at Middletown South 6 years there has never been a football coach walking into the weight room to ask me about the work ethic of the kid or kids they're recruiting. I am shocked. And I got to tell you, a lot of times those coaches, they look like young kids. I mistook one of them for like a substitute teacher because they look like they're fresh out. If you are a sport coach, you should, a red flag is this kid doesn't really like to work. And I know we're going to see that more with transfer portal, NIL, D1. Hey, I don't squat. Hey, you're not my strength coach, but get to know these kids off of the football field.
Yeah.
I would want to ask some of the teachers questions. And at the Underground Strength Gym, we've had coaches call me to interview me asking about a kid they're recruiting. And you know what they ask about? They ask less about the skill of wrestling, football, basketball, whatever the sport is. And they ask more about, tell me the type of person he or she is. Do they
Yeah.
show up on time? Do they stay extra? Are they consistent when they give you their word? Do they stand by their word? Hey, I'm coming on Friday. Do they show up on Friday? When they schedule, do they show up? Or if they have to cancel, do they reschedule it? So let's give a little rundown here of our presenters. We have an administrator speaking this year, Joe DiPietro. He's the health and PE supervisor for the Southern Regional School District, and he's also an assistant principal. He was the one that really helped organize strength and conditioning to make sure that it's available year round for the student athletes, but also in season. So guidance does not have a kid in health or driver's ed when it is their sports season, which to me is really trying to protect the athlete. Because if you cannot strength train in season, you lose a tremendous amount of strength. So he's going to share how they've done it. So if you are a supervisor, you should be there learning. Joe will be speaking first in the morning because he's got quite a ride up from Southern Regional area and back down. Alex Plesic is the athletic performance director at Varsity House Gym. She grew up in Varsity House Gym as a middle school athlete, a high school athlete, and then she played Division I college softball. What did she do every time she had a break from college? Boom, straight to Varsity House Gym. She will be talking about training the female athlete, talking about differences in middle school, high school, progressions, regressions, not just the physical needs of the female athlete, but also the psychological and emotional needs. Will Nahan is a PE teacher, football coach, and is a strength coach at High Point High School. Before this, I think he was at Randolph. He was the head football coach, also the strength coach. Will used to be one of the athletes we trained at the Underground Strength Gym in Edison, and he was a college football player. He also went through our Underground Strength Coach certification. I've watched videos of him training the high school football players, hill sprints, organized lifting. It looks amazing. He's going to share his system. And as a coach, whether you're a football coach or not, what you want to do is say, what's the one thing I could learn from Will? What's one thing I could learn from Alex? What's one thing I could learn from Joe? A takeaway that I could plug it into my school when I get back to make our program better. I'm going to be speaking with Paul at the end of the day. We're going to do Q&A. We're going to do a state of the union of where we are in New Jersey and what we need to do as a collective to improve it. Paul and I are also going to do some very short hands-on stuff in between speakers. Teach you how to properly do a trap bar deadlift, how to instruct it, proper front squat, medicine ball complexes, quick conditioning circuits. Paul and I are going to sneak in some hands-on stuff. Normally, we always have one hands-on session. So Paul and I are going to kind of grease the groove with a little bit of hands-on work. And then last year's coach of the year, Coach Deppen, he couldn't make it last year. He was taking his high school powerlifting team to a meet. So he's been at Donovan Catholic, I think, for about 24, 25 years.
Yeah.
He not only has a strength and conditioning program at the school during the day, but also a powerlifting team. But he utilizes that powerlifting team for kids that may not be in athletics to build their confidence and then guide and direct them into a sport. And so one of the, as we said earlier, one of the best things about training is the confidence that we build with them. Also, free food. I mean, free food, professional day. And it's just so inspiring to be around like-minded people. The truth is this, Paul, when you're around people that are their energy is causing you to struggle. Every time you have an idea, they push it off to the side, they brush it under the rug. It's emotionally exhausting. And then you start questioning, what the heck am I doing? I'm trying to help these kids, but everybody above me keeps saying no. Well, guess what? Let's ask those questions to Joe DiPietro. How can we influence and better connect with our supervisors to move strength and conditioning into the curriculum? So here's a little rundown of what you're learning. We try to get you guys out early so you could get home and see, family, off season, game day training, culture training, program design, communication's going to be crucial. And then Paul, you mentioned if you're not a member, it's $100 if you're a non-member. If you are a member, it's $75 standard member. If you're a professional member, $50. If you are a student, $35. So this is for aspiring strength coaches. Maybe you're at the high school level and you want to do this. Maybe you're in college studying exercise science, um, health education, health and physical education. You want to get here and learn and build connections. Why? Because you might meet somebody who's in your area who says, you know what, you want to intern? I got you. Come and work with me. So if you are a student, absolutely crucial to show up and get your learn on.
No, 100%. Yeah, my son won't be there this year. And talking about big weekends and presentations, I know you got a big weekend with your son. My son's coming down. We're going down to see Coach Ken. And the more we introduce our kids to quality individuals, people that are doing it the right way, people that you'll shake their hand and look them in the eye, and just I want my son and daughter exposed to that as much as possible. So I think for students, this is one of the best, just best rings they can be in as far as, meeting quality people. And for $35, man, you can't beat it. You never know what's going to happen.
I wish this stuff was available when I was going through college because it would have opened up opportunity for me and given me a greater understanding of what things I could do outside of going right into the teaching profession. And I want to close out with this, Paul. You're wearing a Notre Dame strength and conditioning hat. That's from our late friend, Coach John McKenna. What an inspiring and community leader John was. I remember telling him, hey, man, I opened up the underground strength gym in Manasquan. By the way, John, talk about open-minded. Before that, anytime he had something going on, he would hire myself and my friend to come in and put on a clinic. Hey, man, come down and teach us kettlebells for 2 hours. Come down and teach us strongman training for 2 hours. Come and speak at this event I'm doing. When I opened the underground strength gym in Manasquan, he brought, I have it on YouTube, several carloads of kids. Their parents drove up, the kids drove up. 30 something kids came to the underground because I told them, hey, man, I've been reaching out to our local football team over and over again. They don't respond. He's got that deep voice. He's like, how about this, Zach? How about I bring up our guys?
Uh,
And, where he was living and where school is in Lawrenceville, Notre Dame High School, that's close to an hour away. And
yes.
those kids came up and he did a lot of special things. I remember he took his team to I'm in Manasquan, so in Seagirt is the National Guard, and
Yep.
he had his kids go through a National Guard like training camp. He had me come out and train them with like all this body weight training. We were on the beach, we were on the grass, we were sprinting in and out of the ocean. Those kids loved him, and they were very unique kids. Things that I picked up on was very high level of parent support. Coach McKenna loved them and he was tough on them. And those go hand in hand. He wasn't tough on them because he's mean. He was tough on them because it made them better at sport and better at life. Anybody who's an adult knows that life can be extremely tough. And if you're not tough, like Rocky's speech said, like life will knock you down. It will kick your butt all over the place. And so strength training, strength and conditioning, athletic strength training is a vehicle for getting better at life, not just sports. So Coach McKenna, anytime I think about him, I mean, that guy was doing it. He did it right. I mean, just building an army of strong, great kids who became strong, great adults.
He showed you, it was Notre Dame is a Catholic school. He showed you his faith in God, but he also showed his faith in you
Mm.
every single day. Like he made sure the kids knew that he believed in you. And when he spoke to you, he believed, he had faith in you, Zach, and he had faith in me when I got that first call from him. And that's as high school strength coaches, that's the biggest value we can give to our school is to have faith in our kids, to show them that we care more than anything for them. It's about the kids, like you say all the time. And that's what I tell our kid, our boys and girls every day, our men and women, that other than my own family, when I wake up every morning, one of the first things on my mind is how are we going to get better at HC? And to me, that's a big deal. And I learned all of that. I learned from Coach McKenna. So that's why I have this on. That's why it's been riding in the car with me since I got this award. Just giving thanks back and remembering a little bit, and to a lot of our members, but most importantly to Coach McKenna.
And you saying like he believed in you, he loved the kids, he believed in them. My message, my closing message to the parents and coaches is parents, don't make our job more difficult by telling your kid that what we're doing is wrong and there's this better opportunity everywhere else and what we're doing is not important because in my opinion we are world-class coaches. And
Yeah.
you know what? A lot of college coaches say that about us. They say you guys are the best. You have the hardest job because you're working with the kids that in college is the top 6, 7%. They're like, you're working with everybody with less than enough equipment, less than optimal situations, and much more larger groups than they have. So, parents, if we don't have your support, you're putting up a roadblock for our ability to help your kid. And they may not realize it, but outside of our own families, who do we think about next? Their son and
Yeah.
their daughter. Constantly on our mind, we're thinking about their kid, our commitment to their kid. And for the coaches out there, we have an obligation to make New Jersey better. We cannot continue to be where we were 30 plus years ago. I'm 49. Okay. You're in your 50s. I graduated in 93. You graduated in the late 80s. Um, it's the same. It's the same. There's, strength and conditioning is optimal. Just come after school. That is crazy to me that 30 plus, 40 plus years later, we still don't have a statewide strength and conditioning during the day to help kids with these busy, hectic schedules and really to help parents. Now, parents don't have to worry about, hey, I'll pick you up later. I'll bring you back there. I'm driving boom, boom, all over the place. Plus, I got one or two other kids in another school, another age group. So now I'm on the other side of town. In school strength and conditioning, mandatory for athletes. That's part of preparation.
Yeah.
Okay. Why should it be mandatory? Because it's what's best for the kids. And why do we want us to get better? Well, doesn't the English teacher have to do professional development? The math teacher, the science teacher? You got to get out of your comfort zone, coach, and come to a state clinic, learn, share, and you'll thank us later because you will be inspired and you'll come away better. And the students come and network. Who knows? You might be near somebody that you can intern with, or we can introduce you to somebody. Without a doubt, we will help you. So,
Yep.
closing things, get signed up for the state clinic. I'll post the link in this video. And if you have questions, Paul and I run the NHSCA. We're the co-state directors. Send us an email anytime. We would love to help. That goes for students, coaches, parents of athletes. We're here for you.
And I listen. I saw it on CNN last night that Zach's going to be bringing at least 5 to 6 bags of fresh Zeppeli. So just
Let's
make sure
go.
it's there. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring them from Jenkinson's, baby.
Yeah. Don't wear a black sweatshirt that day because you'll have the powder all over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, free lunch, free lunch. We're gonna have Zeppelis for breakfast because when
All
you
right.
get to a certain age, you just do whatever you want. You could have breakfast before dinner. Meals are going to be free because NHSCA has great partners who are like our sponsors. So you'll have breakfast and lunch will be provided. And I got to tell you, man, there is no like stronger unity than members of NHSCA. New Jersey needs a stronger presence, and we got to get to the places of like Iowa, Michigan, Ohio, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, strength and conditioning during the day. All right, guys, we are shutting it down. The link is below to register. And if you have questions, reach out to us. We'll talk to you guys later.